this workshop isn't about demonizing thoughts, okay? Because the mind will produce thoughts. It's what the mind does. And so I don't want you to go away thinking that, we have to really start fighting with thoughts. This workshop really is about getting to know our thoughts. So I just want to, something that is in my most recent book called A First Aid Kit for the Mind. I have this saying which says, watch your triggers, they become stories. Watch your stories, they become excuses. Watch your relapses, they become dis-eases. Watch your dis-eases, they become your vicious cycle. Watch your vicious cycle, they become your wheel of life. So what we're really looking at is how our thoughts really do shape our lives. Yeah, that's what we're looking at, really. And if we have certain thoughts, it's actually really going to shape the way we go about our work, the way we communicate with people. So I want to talk a bit about this self-critic, because the self-critic it's a defense mechanism, okay? It's there to protect us. Yeah, it really is. Sometimes it's almost as if we criticize ourselves, then what anybody else says can't hurt us, because we've kind of told ourselves we're no good. So if anybody else tells us we're no good, well, we know that because we've told ourselves that. And I want to say it's almost like that self-criticism is a bit like an itch. You know, when you have an itch on your skin and habitually you want to scratch it, okay? There's an itch and you want to scratch it. And you can really see that this self-criticism, what happens is this self-criticism can be like an itch. And then we have this behavior because we want to get rid of it. But actually what we do is we kind of just begin to beat ourselves up even more. And, when we're looking at the self-critic, sometimes you can ask yourself, whose voice is that in my head? Yeah. There was, when I was looking at some of the things that people wrote, like, oh, I'm not good enough. Well, who told you that you wasn't good enough? Because often the critic in our head is an adult who was around us when we were young people. I'm not going to blame parents, because there are lots of people, lots of adults who come into relationship with young people. So it could have been a teacher. Yeah. If you went to Scouts or Brownies or whatever, it could have been one of those instructors, or it could have been a parent, or it could have been an older sibling. So this is something you can do, that when this voice arises, ask yourself, whose voice is that? Because sometimes you get, oh my God, this is my mother's voice. This is my teacher's voice. Why am I listening to that? Yeah. And some of you might say, well, it's my voice. Okay, all right, I hear you. It's your voice. So the question could be is, who shaped that voice? Because we're not born with these thoughts that beat us up and that tell us that we're no good. How was this voice shaped in your head? Yeah. And again, often this inner critic, often it's not telling you what you are, we think you are, it's almost telling you what you're most afraid of. Yeah. Because somewhere we believe that there's going to be rejection. We're going to be rejected when we go for the interview, or those clients. We won't get the clients. We're going to be rejected. We'll be rejected from family or partnership. Yeah. So again, we're going to really begin to explore this voice. And one of the things that I do want to say to you is, once upon a time, my inner critic voice was, forget about I'm not good enough. My inner critic voice was, I hate myself. That was the voice that I had in my head for in my 20s, you know? I hate myself. Oh my God. And that voice was shaped. It was shaped due to the conditioning that I had growing up. And then one of the ways I started working with it was saying, okay, I hear I hate myself. Let me say I love myself, to have that affirmation. And then what was happening is I could still hear hate myself 50% of the time, but the other 50% of the time, I was hearing I love myself. And so I got to the point, I was like kind of moving into my 30s thinking, this isn't good enough. I still don't want to hear this voice. I hate myself. I'm still hearing it 50% of the time. And then I realized one day I hate myself, and it's like, well, there's no self to hate. What am I hating? The thing that I'm mostly hating is what's going on in my head. Yeah. And then that was a bit of freedom. And then one day I realized I caught that voice, because the voice got quiet. It's very quiet. Occasionally, sometimes that voice arises, I hate myself. And when it arises, I think, oh, vulnerability. I'm just experiencing vulnerability. That's all what's going on. I'm experiencing vulnerability, or I'm experiencing embarrassment, or I'm experiencing a bit of shame. I didn't do something right. And then the voice comes in, I hate myself, because it's easier. It's so familiar to be with that than to be with, oh my God, I messed up with that. I didn't do the best presentation, or etc. And that's all what's happening. And when I can realize, oh, I'm experiencing vulnerability, I can then begin to take care of myself.